The search for answers is as evident as the grief tonight over the loss of 2 lives in yesterday's helicopter crash in Genesee County. Good evening, I'm Mary Alice Demler.
Hello again, everyone. I'm Scott Levin. The Genesee County town of Elba is about 35 square miles with a population just over 2,000 people. All of them and so many others are served by Mercy Flight for emergency medical needs. And it was one of those helicopters that crashed in a field in Elba early yesterday afternoon.
Inside were 2 men, one of whom the Monroe County Sheriff's Office is calling a true public servant and a man of God. And investigators say that it could take months before we know the full scope of what happened.
But tonight we are getting our first update from the people who are trying to put all these pieces together. 2 News Side's Ron Plants is in Elba for us tonight with everything we need to know tonight.
Perhaps one of the key points in this briefing from the National Transportation Safety Board investigator was that the tail boom with the tail rotor for this Bell 429 helicopter flown by Mercy Flight apparently broke off when it was about 2,000 feet in the air, and then people said that they actually heard a boom and saw this helicopter fall to the ground here in an Elba farm field.
It doesn't happen all the time, no, but again, the crash dynamics are very complicated, aerodynamic forces, things of that nature. So we're going to be looking very closely at, what could possibly happen. The helicopter has a lot of moving parts. The tail rotor is what keeps the helicopter's nose pointed in the correct direction because, of course, the torque, when the rotor blades are spinning around, the helicopter fuselage wants to spin in the opposite direction if you remember your high school physics. So the tail rotor actually keeps the helicopter's nose pointed in a specific direction, and you use the rudder pedals to point the nose in a specific direction.
This helicopter does have a flight data recorder, and that will allow them to look at some of the flight control systems and the performance of the helicopter, though it is not as sophisticated as those black boxes that they talk about in jetliner crashes. The other thing they're going to look at is the performance of the pilots. Again, they pointed out that these are highly seasoned individuals. 60-year-old James Sauer, who flew for Mercy Flight, is actually a military veteran with decades of experience, and he also had flown for the state police before flying for Mercy Flight. The other pilot actually being an instructor helicopter pilot for Bell. Bell Helicopter is on scene here helping in the investigation. Those are all kinds of factors that they will look at, and this investigation could take months to determine exactly what happened with this Mercy Flight helicopter. Reporting from the town of Elba in Genesee County, I'm Ron Plants, Channel 2 News.
And Ron mentioned James Sauer, the pilot in that helicopter. He's a husband, a father, and grandfather who also was a retired Rochester and New York State police officer and an Army veteran who served in Afghanistan. He retired from the National Guard 2 years ago, and our NBC station in Rochester shot this video of his reunion with his family. A friend who used to work with him told us he was a responsible pilot and loved by so many.
I know the camaraderie with his crews. Nobody ever questioned getting in an aircraft with him. There's so much trust there. He was just such a good guy. I think of his wife and his children and his grandchildren, and I know he was so proud of all of them. And I think about his Mercy Flight family as well. That is an organization that is such a close, tight-knit family, and they are feeling this deep down. This is a big hurt for the Mercy Flight family.
And this crash follows 2 other high-profile aviation incidents that killed Western New Yorkers in recent years. In early 2020, Buffalo businessman Mark Croce was flying with passenger Michael Capriotto when Croce's helicopter broke apart midair and crashed in Pennsylvania. And then later that year, prominent personal injury attorney Steve Barnes was piloting a smaller plane with his niece on board. That plane crashed in Pembroke, and they both died.